Hello, welcome to episode 117 of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. This week, Tracy and I talk with friends of the show, Jacob Davidson and Meekly Sheepling, about the Owl House, the Disney animated series created by Dana Terrace. It is a blast. We had a lot of fun talking about this, so please enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Not Joanna Eggs podcast. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Robin.
And we have two guests with us today because we're talking about a series, an adorable series, and a witch-based series, which seems to overlap with both of our guests' interests. So we'll go ahead and start with Jake. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Jacob Davison. I'm a co-host on the Eye on Horror podcast. And this is my fourth time on Not Joanna Eggs, and as always, happy to be here.
We're going to need to get you one of those, like, the personal pan pizza buttons, so like, every time you're on, and eventually we mail you a pizza.
We start a loyalty punch card program for our recurring guests.
What happens when I get to my 10th appearance?
You get another card.
Yeah!
That is so much better than the answer I was going to give.
Oh, was it mailing a pizza?
It was an assassin comes for you.
That's not okay.
That's much worse.
Well, that we documented every time they've been on here. Then that obviously puts the onus on us.
Am I being Logan's Brund?
I hope not. Well, actually,
because I understand
maybe.
that reference.
All right, and our other guest, please introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Meekly. I'm a digital artist online, and I usually draw very lovely women of all types. Look me up.
That's true. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're talking different body types. We're talking different interests.
Ooh.
We're talking different Pinterest boards.
We're talking
all of it.
Sometimes bug people.
There you go. Sometimes bug people. Like, we're not here to judge at all. There are curvy bug ladies too. We want to see the thoraxes. Okay? I'm just gonna go ahead and say it.
I love it.
Good.
But thank you guys so much for joining us. We decided that we're going to talk about the Owl House because as we're waiting for this year to end and we wanted something fun and cute to talk about, we figured that this would be the perfect thing to do. And since Infinity Train is on an indefinite hiatus because we don't know when the fuck HBO Max is going to renew it, I hope it's soon. I really hope that they'd like to announce that soon. But, either way, Owl House just started airing. I believe they released the first episode November of last year, and then the first episode came out January of this year.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, I think probably the best way to go about everything is just we'll do a basic plot synopsis, then talk about some key characters, and we are obviously going to get into spoilers just because we're talking about the entire first season. So
this is going to be kind of like much looser than our normal format because we're covering
it's just
a not insubstantial season.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about, like, I think it was 19 or 20 episodes
19.
for the first season here.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll get into, like, there's some, like, kind of story beats and everything, but, like, the bigger overarching mythos is what we're going to get into when we discuss characters. So
Yeah, definitely like our sort of favorite bits and bobs, I guess.
Agreed. Let's see. Robin, would you like to start getting into the plot, like just a basic idea of it, and then we'll start talking about characters?
Sure, so the very basic idea is it's an isekai anime, except not.
Oh my god, it's so true.
What I mean
you're not wrong.
We get an American magical girl that's not like Steven Universe.
I mean, kind of. So what it is a plucky, adorable, irrepressibly cute protagonist stumbles into a portal to, I think it's, what is it, the Boiling Isles?
Yes.
Yep.
Which is basically like a kind of demon magic realm where witches and magic exist. And she's such this kind of like irrepressible goofball, incredibly creative little adorable critter that she instead of going to normal camp for summer, tries to spend her summer in the Boiling Isles learning to be a witch. And that's sort of the broadest strokes. She meets Ida, the owl lady, who lives in the owl house, hence the name.
Voiced by Stone Cold Super Fox Wendy Malick.
Man.
So nice to see her in not an evil bitch role, which is great.
Listen, it's all the energy that I wanted Celia Hodes to be in Weeds.
Yeah.
In an actual character. Because for like 5 seconds in Weeds, after she gets cancer, she's like a huge bitch, but to help people. And it's great.
Yeah.
And then she just goes back to being a huge bitch.
Exactly.
And also,
Here,
she
she's
was
not.
BoJack Horseman's mom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Beatrice Horseman. God, she crushed it in that. Like, you really, like, she's so despicable, but, like, really getting her backstory, you're like, oh, like, we're all kind of just the product of our parents, essentially.
And that's a different story, but...
Yeah.
So she starts to teach Luz magic. Luz is our main character. And then there's the delightful sidekick voiced by Alex Hirsch, King, who is probably my favorite, actually.
I really like his chow tongue. It's adorable.
I love everything about him. When I got to... We'll get into it later, but...
Yeah.
I think it's, like, Small Problems is the name of the episode or something. It's,
Yeah,
that one actually made me cry. As did many of them, but...
Yeah, they don't pull a lot of punches in this one.
No.
Like honestly, it was from the second episode, because I was like, the pilot I really wasn't hooked on, which I know sounds kind of weird, but like it was just something about, like, they subverted a trope that I have always hated, and I feel like a lot of us probably have, or at least it's so overdone, and they finally they changed that to just be like, look, this is not going to be that kind of show, and I'm like, oh, thank God.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, it was so refreshing.
Yes.
Like, I love that about. So let's get into that then. So the first episode is obviously just sort of the intro, but let's talk about the second episode.
Yeah, so starting off, like, we've got the first episode is clearly, like, Luz just getting introduced to, like, the Boiling Isles and how the world kind of works. Her first, I guess, mission or chore, whatever you want to call it, for Ida, involves her doing a delivery over to a wizard's house, but turns out he's actually just a huge con artist who uses that as a front to lure in, like, well-meaning but honestly kind of stupid people into wanting to think that they're the chosen one of some kind of mythical magical quest. And it's there's just something about, like, how, like, I think he's called a puppeteer is what she refers to him
Yeah, it's
as,
like a big monster that
to
controls different puppets to manipulate people.
Yeah, kind of like a magical anglerfish type of thing.
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. And it's, I love the fact that he lures her in by doing all the standard stuff of, like, and admittedly, I knew that it was a trap, like, basically ever since he gave her the scroll thing. Like, it's pretty transparent, but Luz obviously wants to believe that it's real because she has this, she's a very imaginative, creative person, so she wants to believe that it's accurate.
Yeah.
But, like, just seeing, like, all, like, the cat villagers and the super hot, like, adventurer that goes with her and all that kind of stuff.
And also, I love that he does the whole, do you think that love can bloom even on a battlefield?
God damn it. I forgot
He's
about
like,
that.
oh, you're hurt. Let me take my shirt off. I mean,
we will get into
the
this,
puppeteer. He knows what he's doing.
Yes. Also, we'll get into it, but I love that this is the first, like, because Luz is like a teenager. She's like, what, 14-ish?
Yeah, I think she's 14
at least.
Yeah, not quite quinceañera age, I believe.
Nope.
Yeah, quinceañera is 15. Hence,
the
name. But so I love that we get sort of an inkling of her as a person and her attraction, because it becomes such a big deal sort of later on. Yeah. That was all. That's all I wanted to say. I mean, I love that. Don't get me wrong, I love the episode.
Like, yes, we've confirmed that Luz is bisexual.
Yes, Dan Terrace confirmed it in AMA on September 2nd, 2020.
Yes.
It's canon.
Yeah, there you go.
I knew it. Fuck. No, sorry, I was reading it on Wikipedia, and it says Amity is a lesbian and Luz is bisexual.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, when we get to talking about Amity, she is, like...
Oh, God. So much.
Enormous disaster lesbian. Like, that's
she's like, what do I do? Like, who's making me blush? Like, who put all this sweat under my arms? Like,
what was the line in
if I may,
that was so good.
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
And if I may interject, I also would like to appreciate just kind of how darker, especially for a Disney fantasy show, the Owl House is. Particularly in the first episode, I like that bit where Luz tries to introduce herself to, like, a cute little fairy, and the fairy spouse frangs it and says, "Give me your face!" And so that just, just really sets the tone that this is on the darker fantasy side of things. Is there's all kinds of horrifying monsters, and they do not sugarcoat it that Luz could be killed by just about anything on the boiling islands.
Yeah, and it's like, thank God that there was that groundwork that was laid with Gravity Falls too, because Disney has been by and large like just such a square company in terms of like what sort of like, I mean, they've had good programming in the past, obviously, but I think there's just some sort of thing about like they're trying to want to do family friendly stuff all the time, really just makes them lose the edge to other channels that are willing to take on more different shows, especially occult stuff, because they don't want to scare off like, you know, really like fundamentalist people or whatever, but it's you kind of have to take that risk sometimes, especially for a show that deals with witchcraft.
Yes.
And I think you're right in pointing to, I mean, obviously, like, you can't deny the influence of Gravity Falls on this thing in, you know, at least 3 different ways, right?
Yeah.
Oh yes.
One, like, I mean, Alex Hirsch even said it, like, there's no way he couldn't get gay characters into Gravity Falls canonically when he did in 2012.
Oh no.
So he was overjoyed, but obviously also like he's Dan Terrace's partner, and also he voices a lot of the minor characters.
He's a creative consultant.
So he's his. I mean, it's very obvious if you've watched Gravity Falls. Obviously, you'll love the Owl House, but his fingerprints are kind of all over this in some really enjoyable ways.
Yeah, it's kind of got like some of a similar sense of humor with Mabel, but a lot less boy crazy, obviously, because they're gay. But
No, but I would definitely think that's a good way to describe Hootie in particular. It's like,
oh god,
Hootie!
God, he's so great.
I love Hootie because he's like a giant owl Homestar Runner.
Yeah, he's got that weird kind of like there's just something about like he's both an endearing character and he pisses everyone off.
Do you want to hear about
endearing, but also how's everybody doing today? Don't you want to hear how I'm doing?
Go away, Hootie.
No,
nobody likes you, Hootie.
So
I would also just love the rivalry between Hootie and King because it's both Alex Hirsch.
Well, I love the one where what is it? Somehow King animates his stuffed animals and they revolt on him.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so he recruits Hootie to help him.
Yes.
I'll
And
never
Hootie
forget
takes
the nightmares I've committed today.
His awful sausage body just crushing stuffed animals and killing them. Like, I don't know who chose to do that, where they're just like, let's just give him a weird, vaguely phallic appendage body. And they're just like, all right, let's run with it. He can murder people with them.
I equally respect and hate that person for that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they made a deliberate choice, and I think it's gross, but I'm glad they did it.
Yes.
Yeah, they went for it.
As opposed to having him just like jut out of it, and then he's just got like really sexy legs or something.
All right, that would also be really funny to me. But that's just like
true.
A comedy bit that I really enjoy is when something has inordinately sexy legs.
Oh god.
But yeah, like, so from there, like, from that first episode, because we get a kind of just overview of, like, Luz is a little bit disillusioned at that point, where she's like, I thought that this is going to be different, but she doesn't relent. Like, she's extremely persistent, and she's a hard worker. She does have some kleptomaniac tendencies that I think is a bit of a red flag, because a lot of conflicts are started from her stealing shit, and I don't know who chose to do that. But, I mean, like, look, like, I understand that, like, she's kind of goofy and weird and stuff, but it is a little bit of a red flag how frequently a lot of conflicts are started by her stealing something or not being honest with someone.
She sees it right there. She's got to put her hand on it.
Yeah, I mean, like, I get she's like a raccoon. Like, she just goes for it and
that's
dumps it in water. And it's like, why isn't it working?
Like, kind of her MO as a character in some ways is just gotta touch it and figure out what's going on, and then things go bonkers.
Yeah, it's not so much about like a forgiveness later thing. Like, she's not genuinely trying to do any harm.
No.
Like, she's usually seeking out to do something like decent, or she doesn't think it's going to be like a negative impact. But
Absolutely.
Then you get into like, I think it's the third episode where they try doing like, they basically have a sleepover where they're trying to animate some objects and everything, and they inadvertently animate the house.
Yeah,
I
like
forget exactly which one
episode,
it was.
Oh, and I love
it was
I love that it's called Hootie's Moving Castle. Howl's Moving Castle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's
no,
great.
those gags are all over this place.
Yeah. I do like that we get the introduction of the characters of Gus and Willow, which are her two friends that go to Hexside, and they're number one. I think Willow has like the cutest voice ever, and the fact that Gus is such a human fanboy is very endearing to me, because he's the kind of fanboy where like he gets a lot of stuff wrong, but you like his earnestness and his energy, so you just run with it.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the things that's so endearing about these characters in general is they're so, like, Luz especially is just so earnestly enthusiastic and, like, sort of plucky that she's hard. It's hard not to love her.
Yeah. You can be critical about some of her decisions sometimes, but you know, like, her energy is there, and she clearly cares a lot about the people that she's involved with. Like, and King and Ida do basically end up becoming her surrogate family. Sort of.
Oh, yeah, no. This show definitely has, like, pretty unambiguous found family vibes.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and that's definitely. The thing is that like when we're introduced to her mother initially, like she's not like mean, like she's not trying to be overly critical. It's just she can tell that Luz doesn't really have much of a support system or many friends that she can rely on, and she just wants her to be able to meet new people. Like, but the fact that she's trying to get her to basically go to like a normal camp, and by that like
what was the gag? It was like it was normal computer camp.
Yeah, it was like think inside the box, and it's just like the person with their thumbs up, and I was like, yeah, all right. Like but it is to the point that her creativity is so boundless that she is like starting like she's making like property damage
and throwing snakes.
I mean, like, look, we gotta get like we gotta try to bring that stuff back down. You know, like I think it's just about her channeling it in a more positive way.
Yeah,
and that's what the magic becomes a surrogate for. So.
Absolutely. Well, that's I think. So can we talk about that then? The Intruder, which is the episode where Luz actually starts learning magic.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. Anybody wanna?
Yeah.
I'll try to summarize it the best way I can. So basically, I believe she's getting a little frustrated with how she's not being taught real magic because Ida's. You know how Ida be.
Yeah. Well, she's like, hey, do these chores first, and then we'll get to it eventually.
Yes.
But yeah.
And we get introduced to Ida's curse within this episode because King finds her elixir, thinking that this will help Luz probably get a better handle on magic, and he ends up destroying what turns out to be the last vial of elixir Ida has.
Yeah.
And then she turns into this very bizarre owl creature, and they don't know it's Ida. And she also destroys Hootie.
Yeah. Honestly, from the first instance that we get to see Ida's owl beast, I was just mesmerized. I was like, I want to make that a giant costume. I was like, I gotta do that.
That's a Tracy project right there.
No, because like I love like the look of like if that was like made as a mask or something. I'm like, oh my god, I'd fucking rock that shit.
I'm ambiguously in love with it.
Oh yeah, I mean, and I also like that this is just like a particular scene that happens in this episode, but there's a point where Ida is chasing King down a corridor, like a hallway in the house, and it's very like well animated.
Yes.
Like, there's obviously like a little bit more spaces and everything, but like you're looking at all these keyframes, I'm like, oh, I bet Dana Terrace did that, or I bet like one of the other boarders, like one of the main boarders had done that, because it was extremely like fluid and cool, because it gave me some kind of inspiration, or not inspiration. It sort of reminded me of seeing No Face chase after Chihiro.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was deliberate, but if that was, thank you.
Sure
appreciate it. Yeah.
A good portion of the action within this show, especially the battles, a lot of running and chasing, it's very well animated. They put a lot of their focus on that because they know that's where a lot of people are going to be looking.
For sure, yeah, and it's good to see that that's where a lot of the budget went to, because like you really do see the impacts. Like there's a couple of witches duels that happened during the series itself, like one between Ida and her sister Lilith.
Beautiful.
We get to learn a little bit more further into that. Yeah, we'll get into her in a bit, but like I just really like that there's a great amount of weight to it, like all the impacts, like all the hits, like the light animation that's used, like the fact that Ida can use some of her magic to like make smaller hooties that like attack that like either attack Lilith or attack other people. It's great.
Yeah, and also the creature animation throughout the series is just amazing, because there's such a variety and they're so weird and cool. Just like
great grotesque monsters being used in this.
Yeah. Oh, I was gonna say like the it's also kind of funny because the ironic thing is like in that episode, like they're let's see, one of the things they're worried about is I'm trying to find the name, but Snaggleback. King thinks the Snaggleback is the monster that's attacking them, but it's actually just like a little monkey turtle guy voiced by Aaron Hansen, who's just.
I screamed when I realized that was Aaron. I was like, oh,
that's
and like
so
he's even
good.
pink, which is Aaron's favorite color. I was like, man, I really hope they let him have creative say in that.
Yeah, and I like how he pops up a couple times in the series, like when he's a disco ball at the Grom.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and taking things back to the Wizards duel, I wanted to talk about the convention episode.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
It's a good one.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites. It's like the Boiling Islands market is empty, and Luz figures out that there's a convention. It's like convention, but for covens. Going down, and it goes further into kind of the lore of the series, because in the show there's like 10 different covens, and you're only allowed to learn one type of magic. So they have this conventions where people can figure out which coven they can belong to and what magic to specialize in, and that's when we're introduced to Ida's law-abiding sister Lilith, who's a member of the King's Coven. The King of the Boiling Islands, and so it kind of evolves into a escalating rivalry between Ida and Lilith and their pupils, Luz and Amity. So
as sort of proxies for their fight.
Exactly. And also it has an appearance by Dana Terrace's author avatar character who I really love.
Her self-insert.
Love her little avatar character.
Yeah,
tiny nose.
Yeah, I looked it up and
gave her. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say I looked it up, and apparently the nickname for her is Tiny Nose. Yeah, it's basically this little head with red hair and a big nose that speaks like Homestar Runner. And in this episode, she gets like a magic power sticker from the Construction Guild and immediately goes Super Saiyan and wrecking shit.
Yes. That's the opposite of construction!
I am full of ultimate power!
I like the fact that they incorporate, like, not just the fact that the covens are essentially like, the convention itself is essentially like almost like a job fair, or like an idea of what they stand for.
It's the kind of thing my dad used to go to a lot, like a trade show for electrical supplies, except it's for magic.
Which is why I love the B-plot of King trying to steal as much free swag from the various coven tables.
Every single convention or job fair event I've ever been to, that's the first thing I do, is I get as much free shit as I can.
Yes, that's fair.
I still have some pens that still work from years ago.
Nice.
And King's just like wearing like 7 different free shirts and 5 different hats, and like he's been stealing cupcakes or something.
My tribute.
I like that. I like that. Apparently, con fatigue is not a real thing for King, because if I had that many layers, I would have passed out.
Oh yeah.
But it does pay off for him later when he falls on those spikes.
It's true. Yeah, he's got his own built-in padding.
Yes. There's a big duel between Amity and Luz, and then it turns out that both their teachers were cheating for them. Yeah. So it just kind of brings the conflict to a head. And
Jake, I'm going to go ahead and start. I think we should start talking about Amity at this point.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My favorite.
I love her too. Like, not just the fact that she's voiced by Mae Whitman,
which
is
great.
Just that, which is great. Listener, if you're not familiar, she was Anne, or her, in Arrested Development, and she was also Roxy Richter in Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the live-action film.
Isn't she also in Avatar: The Last Airbender?
She's Katara.
I think.
Yeah.
Oh, is she Katara?
Yes.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yep.
I
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One day I'll get you there, Tracy.
That's fine. I'm taking my sweet time, man. I got through part of Korra. I'm like, it's okay.
Listen,
but
you
really know how
good.
I am with certain fantasy shows, and I was actually a little bit reticent about this show to begin with, because I don't typically go for a lot of fantasy stuff. But But I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm outing myself. And I'm sorry that I made Meekly. Meekly gasp out of sheer surprise and probably disgust. I don't know.
Nah, you're good.
Okay. But no, like I like the fact that Amity, like, she's initially kind of introduced when we first see her with Willow, I believe in episode 3. She's being like, you know, like antagonistic and sort of passive aggressive, but still trying to pass it off as though she's being nice. But like, she's not the stereotypical villain that you'd usually get, like, say Pacifica Northwest.
She is not a bully.
No, yeah, like Amity is just like, she's just kind of aloof. Like but it's obviously very important for her that like her status as being able to be a witch and like, you know, her being Lilith's protege is extremely important to her. Like she seems to have an inferiority complex when it comes to that.
I will say, whenever you break her, like if you take something that rightfully belongs to her, she flips out in the most hilarious way.
Oh yeah, her little angry face is so cute. Yeah.
But actually, I think Pacifica Northwest is actually a really good parallel there, because that's sort of her central conflict also, is that, so what we learn about Amity and Willow later, and one of the reasons Amity is such a good character is she has like a really good redemption arc in terms of like making her like a more realized character that you can like care about, is we found out her and Willow used to be friends, and the reason that she stopped being friends with Willow was because her parents told her not to be, right?
Yeah, like her parents are classist and rude.
Oh, they're terrible.
Think that Willow is lesser than them.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's sort of, for a little bit, is Amity's struggle, and it takes a while for us to get to a full redemption, but I think moving to the discussion of Amity here during the Covention episode is actually a good point, because that's where that really starts, right? Because this is when Luz and Amity have this sort of heart-to-heart where Amity's like, every time you appear, you make me feel like crap, and I try so hard to be perfect. And Luz is like, I'm sorry, I know one spell and it's light.
Yeah.
Also, just want to point out that, to quote Jaws, Amity, as you know, means friendship.
Oh, yeah, it does.
It's true. Yeah, and Luz means, I believe it's light.
Yep, just light.
And also, Luz's last name is Noceda, which I think means, like, field of nut trees, or something like that.
Yes.
Like, which makes sense because she's a fucking nut.
Maybe a little less prescient.
Yeah, no, but it's also apparently one of the most common last names in Paraguay, of all places. So, that's
good
fun.
to know.
Yeah, I really like that there are also some parallel bully characters, like Basha is like, she's more like the stereotypical like snotty kind of rich girl and everything.
Yeah.
But Amity like barely wants to have anything to do with them. Like she just kind of like goes along because that's what that was the path that her parents set her on.
Yeah.
But she clearly seems to have a whole lot more in common with Luz, and eventually warms up to her and Willow and Gus. So
absolutely. Since we're talking about Amity, I do want to mention the episode, the library episode, because it's, again, moments that, like, I saw this clip ages ago, and I think it's definitely one of those, again, hints that Luz is bisexual, is she meets Amity's twin older brother and sister, and one of her jokes is, am I a library book? Because they were checking me out. they were totally into her, like, at least on a level of, like, oh, let's be friends with this kid, she seems great.
Yeah, she's interesting.
Yeah. But they also did kind of use her as a means to an end to be able to find Amity's diary and her secret reading room, where it turns out that Amity is also a huge fan of the same witch book series that she
Azura.
is, which is adorable.
Yeah.
And also probably might be some kind of Yuri book thing. I'm not really sure.
Azura?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
I don't think so, Tracy.
I'm just saying there's two main female witches. Maybe there's some shipping going on there, because there certainly is in this.
Of course there's shipping going on.
There's shipping going everywhere.
Shipping to Japan.
We're practically giving away lesbian relations.
God, if only.
These are discount prices.
Yeah, I can't believe these rates.
Lesbians are flying off the shelves.
Can we go ahead and talk about, like, I know we kind of mentioned the whole elixir thing because it starts off as being, it's not really like a MacGuffin, at least I wouldn't really say that. Like, it actually is pretty pivotal to her.
Yes.
But it's actually the history behind the usage of that and how frequent she's been having to take it. Like, it's almost like if she had some kind of, like, pre-existing medical condition, you know, like, she's like, oh, I'm diabetic, I have to take my insulin, stuff like that.
Yes.
Would anyone like to extrapolate from that, like, the cause of that?
It is interesting, and also I guess it also kind of helps serve as a bit of a handicap to Ida, who, by her own admission, is one of the most powerful witches on the island.
Yeah. Well, also because she didn't sell herself out to the Emperor, so that she'd be able to use
she can do all the magics.
She became what they called
Wild
witch.
A member of the bad girl coven, if you will.
Yes, I want that shirt.
It does exist. I think I've seen it on like Redbubble or something similar to that.
Of course.
It was super cute. I just like anything with like a purple background with like people skateboarding in space is great.
Yeah,
my
that's rad.
Kid aesthetic.
And just an aside, I love that Ida's obsessions with human culture and objects are usually like the most camp or like weird stuff she finds. Like she's got VHS tapes. She's got so many VHS tapes.
Wait, one of my actually that reminds me of one of my favorite gags, which was in the Intruder. Was they were because one of the things that I think starts in that episode is why do they call you the Owl Lady? And King jokes that it's because like a bird and an owl, she's easily distracted by shiny things. And she's like, no, I'm not. True. And then Luz holds up like a light up pen. She's like, it shines and sparkles. It glitters and delights or something.
I must have it for my nest.
Exactly. Like,
pretty much. Yeah.
I should start saying that whenever I go to the dollar store.
Sparkles like glitters and delights.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah. Oh, and if I may take this opportunity, I want to talk about one of my favorite episodes of the season, Once Upon a Swap, the Freaky Friday episode.
Oh my god!
Oh god,
which is just brilliant. Okay, so basically, King and Luz are at Ida's booth at the market, and they all argue with each other with the typical, you don't know how hard my life is situation. Mm-hmm. So Ida decides she's gonna settle it by having them all swap bodies, which she describes as like demonic possession with your friends. And okay, so Ida goes into King's body, King goes into Luz's body, and Luz goes into Ida's body, and it's kind of like 22 stories about Springfield thing, where it's like 3 different vignettes that eventually tie together.
Yeah,
but it's just so funny how it ends up because Ida wants to take it easy, so she figures since King is cute and small, people just baby her, and she accidentally ends up being kidnapped by these crazy like pet cafe witches who kidnap imps and then brainwash them into being just like their servants and like being cute
like,
for
they're so docile and coddled that like they don't know how to do anything for themselves. They're just like, I'm not having it.
Yeah. And then King in Luz's body decides to be a rebellious teen. He takes over Bosha's teenage gang who are like doing magical pranks and shenanigans all over the Boiling Islands, like releasing like vine monsters. And one of my favorites is they rearrange a sign that says self-storage into elf rage, and this ridiculously buff elf shows up. Like, this sign
gets it.
And he just starts wrecking shit. And
I love that fucking scene.
Yeah, and then, then Bosha reasserts her authority by challenging King to a worm rat race. Like basically a magical version of a drag race down a hill, and so he has to go on the run. And Luz actually does really well in Ida's body, using her magic to like spruce up the stand so that they get lots and lots of customers, which Ida was trying to avoid because then she's arrested.
Yeah, I was gonna say it draws too much attention.
Yeah.
And Lilith is on the pursuit for her at that point because she's trying to get her to join the Emperor's Coven. And because Luz is very extra and tries to like just be like, yes, this is the Owl Lady, buy our shit. And she's like, wow, okay. And then they immediately like take her into police custody and try to force her to change sides.
And Lilith thinks that Luz is just Ida acting weird or making fun of her.
Yeah.
There's two things in that episode that really tickle me. I mean, a lot of things, obviously, but the two things that tickle me most are the beginning of it when Ida is the one who's like, we'll do a body swap, and Luz is like, what? Body swap! It'll be great! Like, it's so good. But then also when she's in King's body, I don't remember exactly what King says, but he just looks at her, he's like, I'm having some very strange and conflicted feelings right now.
Actually, it says, I've got some very confusing emotions right now.
Yeah, that's what it was. And I'm like, yeah, I get that.
Yeah, just be like, wow, I didn't realize I was so handsome.
Oh, and the best part is that whoever loses the bet for like who has the hardest life has to clean Hootie, who they just flash to just rolling around in the mud. Hoot! I'm just rolling around the mud, having a good time.
I mean, honestly, I salute Hootie for his attitude. He can make anything fun. Just for him. Like, he's trying to be friendly even if he is creepy and intrusive sometimes. But god damn it, he does his best.
He does. I think one of my favorite Hootie moments is he spends, like, I think it's like a joke that, like, he spends a day hanging out with a fly, and then the fly at the very end flies into his mouth.
Friendship tastes like a fly.
There's no fly.
Oh, poor Hootie.
Oh, God.
All right, well, I think this is probably a good time to start getting into, like, the real overarching plot of everything, because we know that it's essentially kind of like a slice of life thing, watching Luz start to learn new magic. Like, we see her go from learning the light spell, then eventually learning one for making, like, ice things popping out of the ground.
Ice, plants, and fire.
Yeah.
So I do want to mention that real quick, just in passing as sort of one of my favorite episodes for the world building of it. So, what we learn early on is that witches cast spells by drawing a circle and drawing on, like, their magical energy from their heart sac, which is a horrifying concept that they demonstrate for us.
But I love that it's, like, circles. Like, they don't just use wands. It's really nice.
Thank God for no wands.
Because then it makes it more approachable for Luz, because she's able to do her spells by using a notepad and a pen and then tapping on it.
Right,
Full alchemist style.
Yeah, well, so that's the thing, right, is we learn that all these spells are sort of influenced by some element of the actual elements of nature, right? And so that's Adventures in the Elements is where we learn that. And so there we learn, Luz learns ice spell. I think she maybe also learns fire somewhere in there. But she comes out of that, and then in the next few episodes learns to have this sort of array of spells that, she just kind of draws this symbol Full Metal Alchemist style and can do magic. But I like how they world built that out from a circle to, well, it's more complicated. It's just the way that the witch magic works, the heart sac or whatever probably does the heavy lifting there in the middle of the circle.
Yes.
Yeah. But I like that it shows that it's not just reliant on being a witch, that, like, she's able to adapt to it.
Yes.
Like, I really like that as part of her arc, because initially Luz is very, like, disheartened, where she's like, because she realizes that there's a magic school and she wants more structure, hence why she ends up going to Hexside. But because of all the limited amount of magic that people can do, like, where it's kind of like, you know, you can only major in one specific thing. And she's like, I kind of just want to be able to do all of it.
Yeah.
And then she is later granted that by the headmaster of the school. So.
Right.
And it's a nice little subversion, because she meets some other students that want to be able to do the same thing.
Yeah, and that's such a cool episode, because we get, like, the kind of the hidden passages in the building, which is just so damn cool.
I love a good hidden passage.
Good times. and also off of that, we should probably talk about, like, the lore is also involving, like, kind of the way the magic works on the island, because it's all set up by Emperor Belos, who's the ruler of the island, and he's so powerful apparently because the Boiling Islands is actually like the skeleton of a giant, or I think they call it the Titan, the Titan, and supposedly the Titan can speak to Belos, and that's what helps give him his power and also his authority over the people.
Yes.
Right, and he's the one who established the whole coven system that you're only allowed to sort of do one type of magic, which, you know...
Classic cult leader levels of control there.
Yeah, very corporate.
Very that's corporate, the thing I think, like, looking at it is I'm like, oh, this is very, like, very obviously kind of a thing that you do as a power move, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, he's just saying, like, you know, and granted, we don't know how accurate that is in terms of, like, whether the Titan is actually really, like, speaking to him, or if it's just a facade, and he's using his influence, and, like, unless I'm mistaken here, but I'm pretty sure that it's, like, he's using his powers of intimidation and resourcefulness to be able to exert that power over everyone else.
For all we know, he could be a pawn.
Yeah,
that's one thing I kind of got, is that there's something else sort of going on here that we haven't gotten to yet, and that's one thing I think
I bet they're going to expand on it.
Yeah, exactly. As we're getting into sort of the larger plot of this, I think, like, initially I felt like this first season sort of moves very quickly through a lot of the plot. But I think one, they're doing the kind of like, oh god, what if we don't get a season 2 thing? But also, they've left so much room for other stuff. So let's
like a very obvious cliffhanger at the epilogue of the last episode.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Like, yeah.
So why don't you tell us a bit about
although
plot?
if I could say one thing that's a little spoilery about Emperor Bellos and his goals.
Yeah, I mean, we're starting to get into that anyway. So, and also, if you've listened this far, you probably don't care,
right? But just because that's the thing. I got to give this series credit because, like, I did not know where it was going, but I thought it was interesting that his real goal was to try to get to the human realm. You know, because Ida's got the only doorway between the two worlds, and it's not even for the stereotypical reasons. He doesn't want to take over the human world. He doesn't want to attack it. But for some reason, he wants to go there.
Right, and I thought of that too, the way he's like, I don't want to conquer it. That's just so, like, he almost says, like, it's like so blasé. Like, conquering. Like, no.
I'm above that.
Well, and I get the sense that maybe not that he listens to the Titan, but that maybe there's some kind of small, like, cabal or something that he's part of, which has this as part of its goal, but the other thing I loved in meeting Emperor Bellos was the fight with him and Luz.
Oh my god.
Which
that was amazing.
Yeah, aside from being, like, super well animated and also, like, holy shit, Luz, human kid, figures out how to, like, fight the Emperor and, like, damages his helmet. So, like, normally he has, like, the blank eyes, and you see this glowing blue eye where she broke his helmet.
Things go real Final Fantasy.
Suddenly he's just Sans Undertale. I saw that. I was like, where are these memes? I'm sure they exist.
No, they're there. I kind of remember now.
How video James of you, Tracy?
I'm just saying it might be low-hanging fruit, but it's there. You know it's there.
I'm all for Undertale references.
I know.
An unrepentant Undertale fan.
I get it.
As you do.
Yeah, I mean, I really like that it shows that by using her creativity, she's able to outsmart him.
Yes.
Yeah, she's so
ends
clever.
Up giving him, where she ends up giving him the portal thing because he's basically saying, like, if you don't, she's going to be petrified or whatever forever,
right.
And you can never reverse it. Like that, those are the conditions of it.
Right.
And even though Ida has a heart-to-heart with her, she's like, I've come to terms with this. I've been avoiding it. She's like, I have to deal with this. I don't know if I can escape this time.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's extremely tragic, like, especially in the showdown with her and Lilith on the bridge outside of the castle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but I just like that that's the thing, is that by her being able to think outside the box, she's able to put some of the, I think they were construction glyphs or something like that, on the exterior of it, and then use that to explode it remotely.
Yeah,
it's like very, very smart.
She slapped her, like, fire runes or something on, so yeah, she blew it up as she was leaving. Like, I gave it to you, but then I blew it up, so suck it.
Yeah, there you go.
Which goes back to the first episode, because remember that's what Azura says in Luz's fantasy.
Yeah, now eat this.
Oh,
eat this,
yeah.
sucker.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
We actually, since you mentioned it, Tracy, we've talked about Ida's curse, but we haven't talked about what the actual cause of it is. We find out in the second to last... Is it the second to last episode,
yes.
I think?
Second to last.
I think so they introduce it in the second to last, and then Lilith gets into it more in the last episode.
So Lilith and Ida get into a fight, and we sort of get this back past of them as kids at Hexside, and how Ida has always been more powerful, and not just like a basic level of like, I'm more talented, but I work harder and I'm therefore better.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it's not just about this sort of innate talent. Like, Ida definitely worked to be a good witch, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
Which I think is super important in a lot of ways. Again, like, talking about the ways in which this show kind of, like, wants to break some tropes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think
Duncan on Harry Potter.
Oh, they definitely do.
So
we haven't talked about the Grudgeby joke.
So great.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Well, let's get into Grudgeby real quick, and then we'll get into all the sad, depressing shit.
Yeah. So, Grudgeby, there's this, there's a wizard's sport that Basha is really good at, and because it's Grudgeby season, she can be a huge bitch and no one can stop her because she's a star player.
Because she's basically the quarterback of the football team.
Basha got away with murder. Good for her.
Yeah,
Good
she's
for
just
her.
a huge coos to everybody.
Yeah, like
you do.
Theoretically, high school works. I don't know.
Yeah, sure. Whatever. It's been a while. I don't remember anymore.
Roll with it.
That
now,
definitely
now,
was.
Now we're just doxing people. I don't know.
That was definitely not how our high school worked, Tracy.
No, dude. We didn't
collectively
care. Nobody showed up.
We collectively shrugged at the star quarterback as an entire school.
We're just like,
I don't know. Down here, quarterbacks are superstars.
Oh yeah, it's important.
That's a Texas thing too. Like it's extremely important down there. It seems like
Friday Night Lights.
King of the Hill led me to believe that as well as Friday Night Lights. So I don't know.
Anyway,
yeah.
So in the Grudgeby match, they get Luz and her crew, Willow, Gus, and eventually Amity challenge Basha and her group to a match, and they do the whole scoring thing, and then she's like, "You would win, except I found this thing that means I automatically win." And Luz is like, "Then why does any of the rest of it matter?"
Yeah, like she just presents this, like, what's essentially the golden snitch, and she's like, so what's the point of doing any of this other stuff if that's clearly just what you're supposed to do?
Yes.
Like, who gives a shit? Like, the only person that matters is apparently the person that gets to snitch.
Yep.
Yes.
And I'm like, yeah, it's true. Like, Quidditch is kind of pointless outside of that. It's 90 points. Why would anyone try for anything else?
Yeah, between that and the Chosen One mockery, it's just out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the other joke I love that is like, every wizard game has something like this, and she's like, but why?
I mean, you think that they could use their magic to cheat if they really cared that much.
I know.
But
True.
which ends up happening at the duel
they
earlier
did
in the
use
season.
the magic
But
to do stuff.
but at the same time, it's like, like, what's the point of having sports if you can just cheat at everything? I don't know.
Well, and yeah, which is a fun resolution because then everyone's like, "Oh man, that was such a cool match!" Like, even though you lost, like this was super cool, and everyone just kind of tells Basha to fuck off more or less.
That was actually a nice twist that Basha's teammates actually liked Willow and Luz. Like, they actually want to play with them again.
Yeah, they're like, wow, you guys are like an actual team. This is nice.
Yeah, right.
Like, you mean we don't have to be yelled at and belittled like the entire time? That sounds great.
Friendship?
Yeah, Basha needs to learn about management skills.
Yeah, we'll see how that ends up faring with her once she gets a little bit older. But yeah. But let's get back to like the big crux of the emotional core between both Ida and Lilith.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tracy, take it away.
Okay. All right. I can do that. All right. So essentially, and this is a standard thing. Like, look, if you've got a sibling or if you're relatively close in age to like maybe like a really close friend, like there's going to be some kind of rivalry stuff going on there. It just sort of happens, especially if you're growing up together. But the issue with this is that they were apparently both Ida and Lilith were going to Hexside at the same time.
Yes.
And they were both attempting to get into the Emperor's Coven. And the problem was that there was only one slot available. And I believe it was either like the guard or whoever was telling her, also voiced by the velvet voice of Aaron Hansen. Whereas like I was listening to this and I was like, oh, tell me more, Aaron.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But I just like that that's the whole thing is that Ida, she's attempting to do the sportsmanly like thing. It's like, look, this is clearly more important to you. It's not a big deal. I can just run with this myself. And that's just not something that Lilith wants to hear. I think that like she still has this sort of like, she's intimidated by Ida to an extent, and she wants to ensure that she's going to win.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, that's the other thing,
yeah,
right?
Like Ida does the thing after the fact, because it turns out that Lilith is the one that puts the curse on Ida.
Yeah,
She wants to guarantee that she's going to win.
Exactly. So Lilith puts the curse on her, not knowing that Ida plans to kind of throw the match anyways.
Yeah. And also the curse was only supposed to be for a day anyway. So like she
Mm-hmm.
was not intending to do any permanent harm to her sister. Like it was not that nefarious. It was still underhanded, but she wasn't trying to permanently hurt her.
Yeah.
I don't think that was ever a thing in witch culture, like a curse that only lasts for a day. I think once a curse is on you, it's on you.
It's on
until you break it.
It's the nature of curses.
I saw
right?
the craft.
It's it's like having bad knees. Like that's just how it is. You just gotta
my
have
life
them.
now.
No take backsies.
Oh, it's like, well, every time I get up, I'm just gonna have something cracking. I can't wait.
Welcome to being 30 and over.
This is your life, kids. Hope you get ready for it. If you're listening to this and you're under 30,
yeah, if you're under 30,
get ready for
yourself at about 31.
Your body starts breaking down at 26. Nourishing it while you can.
Time keeps on moving. You can't stop it.
Mm-hmm.
There you
Your
go.
back
God has to sort us out somehow.
Mm-hmm. Your back literally expires at age 30.
Okay, I think we've reached a point.
Anyway, now that we've run that
enough
one down.
tormenting people with age.
So, where it ends is because she gave Bellows the suitcase and then destroyed it, Ida does not get turned into stone. And because the curse has taken over her, she's just the owl creature for now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lilith leaves the Emperor's Coven and casts a spell so that they're sharing the curse together.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a really nice callback, too.
Yes.
Because they established it earlier where, like, say if Ida had skinned her knee, like, Lilith could use that power to be able to, like, make it not hurt anymore.
Yeah,
or at least like,
lessen the
divide it
load.
between them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was really, really sweet that they did that.
Yeah.
Because watching Ida get petrified is genuinely terrifying.
Yeah,
because they do it in a public forum. It's like they put it at like the top of this. Yeah, it's essentially a public execution, and everyone seems okay with it up until they realize that Bellows is doing it in a like unfair, nefarious kind of way. Like, because she didn't do anything. Like, she's just living her own life. There was nothing that she should have been publicly executed for.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and that's, there's a lot to say there, but yeah. And so then, because of that, both Ida and Lilith's witch powers are reduced, so they're starting to, the implication is that they're also going to be doing magic in a way similar to Luz.
Yes, glyph magic.
Yeah. They're starting back from square one by being able to draw glyphs just like, by drawing the spells just like Luz does, which is really, honestly, very sweet. Because I like that it's like now they're like, okay, we're going to do this together. And it appears that Lilith is going to hopefully be more of a constant character in season 2, which is in development, but like with everything coronavirus, it's going to be delayed. So,
So
I'm willing to wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So we kind of leapfrogged over it, but I want to roll us back to Grom.
Grom.
Obviously,
we got to talk about Grom.
And I do want to say one thing I just learned because I'm an idiot and I didn't look it up, but Grom was written by Molly Ostertag, wife of well-known lesbian Noelle.
Oh, no way.
Noelle Stevenson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Creator of She-Ra, Princess of Power, which, looking back on that episode, I'm like, of course it fucking was. That is so their jam.
Didn't she also work on Lumberjanes? Right? Or did she? I forget.
Yes, it was
I thought
also
she was
Lumberjanes.
affiliated with it.
Noelle Stevenson did. I don't remember if Molly Ostertag did.
Oh,
she
yeah,
also writes comics and does some writing of her own.
The impression I got is that maybe they were dating at that point, so that's why she named one of the characters Molly.
I don't think
maybe.
So.
I don't know. Well, either way. If that's accurate, it's cute.
Yeah. So Grom, in which Grom is like Prom, except the Grom Queen has to fight an evil spirit demon or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like a gauntlet sort of thing.
Yep, lives underneath the school.
Yeah.
Because of course it does.
Yeah, because, I mean, why wouldn't it? I also would like to live underneath a school and cause problems every 100 years.
What would you do for the other time? You'd be so bored.
Keep it down.
Have you seen... Yeah, first of all, my
it's
ability to be a grumpy old person banging on the ceiling going, keep it down, you damn kids, would be unparalleled. Also, have you seen the sewing I do? I would get so much sewing done.
And we got to talk about the fight or / dance battle with the Grom,
so
with Willow and with Amity and
Luz.
And Luz.
Oh,
sorry.
Yeah. Just getting back to the Grom fight really, really quick, though, is that the importance of the Grom monster is that it's supposed to embody the thing that you're most afraid of.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Something that, like your deepest fears. Mm-hmm. And, like, for some people, that could be, like, spiders or clowns or shit like that. Mm-hmm. But for Amity, she's extremely vague about why she doesn't want to do it, because presumably it's something that she's really embarrassed about. So Luz tries to... she's like, oh, I'll be your champion. I'll go fight for you and everything. And then it turns out that the Grom monster takes on the form of her mom, who she's basically been lying to this entire time, saying that she's away at her camp. And it's like, I think it's just, it's just really sad, because she seems to have a good relationship with her mom, but like, how do you explain, like, hey, I've been in this other realm this entire time. I don't know if I'm going to come back for a while. It's just,
Oh yeah,
her mom is supportive, but like, how do you explain that?
Yeah, well, and I think it's not. I mean, especially given that we know this is a queer episode and this is a queer character, I think you can sort of read queerness into that narrative as well. Mm-hmm. And like the fear of disappointing her mother, balanced against her own desires to be the kind of person that she wants to be, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And also just it leads to another kind of overarching plot point that somebody has been sending Luz's mother letters.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is up with that?
Yeah, that doesn't get resolved in this season, but I'm really hoping that we get some more.
I'm hoping that we're going to get some kind of payoff within the first couple seasons of season 2. Or sorry, the first couple episodes of season 2.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then after that, we see Amity confronts her fear, which we see as sort of a generically androgynous figure tearing up an invitation to go to Grom.
Mm-hmm. Rejection.
So it's rejection, and the dramatic irony of it is we see the half that says, will you go to Grom with me? And Luz sees that as well, but the dramatic irony is we see that it says, Luz, will you go to Grom with me?
Yeah, which is sweet, because they get their cute little dance scene where they're like using that together to fight against the Grom monster. It's so sweet, like very well choreographed too.
Yes.
Like there's just something about dance fighting.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it's like you got the groundwork laid with breaking,
the breakdance fighting.
Then you got served. Oh, sorry. No, first break-in, then Zoolander, then you got served,
Jesus
and now
Christ.
here.
How dare you?
There's so many of them. Oh, also, apparently, breakdancing competitions has been added to the Olympics. Oddly enough.
What?
So, starting in 2024 in Paris, it's going to be an event.
In Paris, of all
that's
places.
Paris for you.
Yeah, there you go.
Fucking French.
Oh my God. For your information, the French have done worse things than that.
Let's not get into
Apologies
it. Apologies
to the French and French Canadians.
Oh God, okay. We're getting way off topic.
Yeah. And
I just love that, like, it's so unambiguously gay. Like,
yes,
they're clearly
it's
doing
extremely.
It because they're into each other.
That's actually one of the things that was originally taken as a piece of evidence before she confirmed it in the AMA. Was someone had posted like a GIF of the two of them dance fighting or something against Grom, and they tweeted it at Dan Terrace and said, "There's no heterosexual explanation for this." And Dan Terrace's response was, "No, there really isn't."
Nope.
The math checks out.
Yep,
the
there
math
you go.
checks out.
We're gonna have to take this back down to the boys in the lab, but I think we've got an ambiguous answer here.
Yeah.
And near the credits, I think it was either after. No, it was before the credits. It showed a little collage of pictures that were taken on Grom, and the final shot is of Luz, Amity, who's blushing, and Willow and Gus having a good old time at Grom.
Yeah, also, one of the cut photos was Luz wearing the otter
otter
suit.
So cute. I love that, like, they're wearing, like, all their, like, animal pajama things and, like, having a tea party. It's so cute.
Yeah, and Luz is like, I'm an otter with a dark side.
I love her so much.
I liked both of her outfits. They're great.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, her like, menswear plus tutu/skirt was beautiful.
On point.
Yeah, just chef's kiss. Like, just such a deliberate choice.
Brilliant.
I wish.
I'd also like to, somebody asked, what did Edric and Emra, who are Amity's twin older brother and sister, how did they go at prom? and she posted, Dana Tarrant, she posted a drawn image by her of them looking sad and defeated that their date stood them up at Grom.
Oh! Well, they kind of had it coming for bullying Amity.
Yeah. Yeah, and also not marking up, also graffitiing the library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, look, I like that the premise of that episode made it like, oh, look, the Page Master if it mattered. At the same time, I don't advocate for
the Page Master, but there are stakes.
Yeah, but it's like, but people give a shit now. And there's actual character progression, but...
Yeah, and don't bully your sister.
Yeah, it's like, just don't do that, and please don't read their diaries. Like, just don't be a dick. Like,
yeah, I tell you what.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the first season. I'm very excited to see where they take it from here, and thank God they put it on Disney Plus, because I was like,
yes.
They need to stop having such a boner for putting stuff on, like, just broadcast TV, because, and I think that they learned that with Gravity Falls, because initially, that, I think it was on the Disney Channel, then they booted it to the purgatory that is Disney XD, where it's like, if you don't have a bigger cable package, you can't get it, and then eventually, they're just like, hey, once we start launching this show, we're gonna put it on Disney Plus once it launches, and they did, and which
it's
is
all
like,
about
God,
accessibility.
It's well, it's amazing,
and understanding the market. Like, obviously, things are expanding more, and there's so many subscription services for everything now.
Yeah, don't love that, but glad it's out.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's
but,
what it is.
Well, and it's it's kind of interesting that they haven't kind of learned that lesson, because like I was watching the movies that made the holiday movies that made us the Nightmare Before Christmas one. And one of the things they talk about is when it originally came out, Disney didn't attach their name to it. It was part of Touchstone, technically. Even though it was produced by Disney. Which is the same
Disney division that did Roger Rabbit. So it's like anything that's not family friendly goes to Touchstone, basically.
Yeah. Well, and so then, like 13, 14 years after the fact, they found out it's really popular in like smaller circles, and suddenly like home video, and they're like, oh, this is doing well now. It's Disney again. Nightmare Before Christmas is a Disney property again.
I mean, well, when you have a company that's that much of a monolith, it's very frustrating to, like, just for them to have such weird favoritism over certain things, where it's like, look, guys, this was made under your, like, tentpole. Like, look, I love the movie Tombstone, as dumb and weird and stupid as it is, but I'm just glad I was able to find it. Like, I don't even know if that's on Disney Plus, but I'm pretty sure it was released under Touchstone, but whatever the case may be, like, it's just... I wish that they started giving equal credence to that kind of stuff, and then not hyping up things like that shitty Mulan remake that was like, it was like $30, like, fuck you.
Oh,
come on. And then they finally released it, and, like, because all the reviews that just came out were just like, this is awful. It's like, she's such a Mary Sue, and it's like, great, you ruined both the character and the concept of watching movies on the internet.
Shocker, when you try to make an authentically Chinese movie with zero Chinese writers or production, it sucks. Who knew?
Yeah.
Maybe you should consult people, your culture you're trying to reproduce.
Just committees, like, just they need to stop leaning into all like these committee live action things. It's like, now this one finally didn't make money, so maybe they'll listen. I don't know.
Yeah, but the Owl House, that's the good stuff.
But the Owl House,
it's
real good.
House is the good stuff.
You should watch it.
Please do.
Because I know that, Meekly, you're also a big fan of Star vs. the Forces of Evil, which is also on this.
Yes.
Which is also on Disney+. So, yeah. I mean, like, I really hope that they keep going in a good direction with this, because I like the team that's working on it. I will say I didn't have as many laugh-out-loud moments as I did in Gravity Falls, but the sense of humor is also, it's different. You know, like, they're not going for, like, the weird... like Simpsons kind of like bombastic shit. Like, I mean, like, I love Gravity Falls as it is. This is fun too, but I'm glad that they are allowing things to go in a really natural progression. Like, the pacing is really good. It doesn't waste a lot of time. Like, there's very few filler episodes that don't have some sort of story that's involved.
Yeah,
in
it keeps
so.
moving everything forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a very tight first season. So,
yeah,
absolutely.
Looking forward to season 2 whenever it may come.
Yep.
I do have a quick question for y'all. If I may. I'm sorry if y'all can't choose because this kind of sucks within the rules of the universe, but which coven would y'all like to join?
Man.
Between abominations, bard, beastkeeping, construction, healing, illusions, oracle, plant, and potions.
I would have to say bard, because I'm a writer, and I think that's the closest, thing to that. So I could probably, like, sing songs or write stories that are magic and stuff. So that'd be pretty cool.
Mm.
Yeah. I would probably say, like, my heart wants to say beastkeeping because inherently I just would love to, like, just basically interact with all the, like, crazy-ass critters and stuff. But I feel like potions is the most viable because there's so much that you can get from that.
Yeah.
Like potions can address a whole lot of different stuff. So if I could have that concurrent, I think that would be neat. Botany's cool, though. I don't know, man. I like them all.
I know.
They're all cool. Why limit yourself, right?
True.
Yeah.
Probably bard or construction.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You could have ultimate power like Dana Terrace.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm like, I love the idea of just being really strong. So just slapping a patch on and lifting heavy shit sounds great.
Ooh.
And you're going to sing about it.
You're goddamn right I am.
Like Gaston, who makes house. Like if Gaston worked for Habitat for Humanity.
No one lifts like Gaston, builds new houses like Gaston.
Okay, that's enough of that.
Jacob's like, I already hate it. Why?
No one makes a thatched roof cottage like Gaston. Okay. How about you, Meekly?
Oh, I would go with Oracle.
Oracle.
Nice.
Yeah, nice.
Good.
Give me a magic glass ball. I could throw it at people if it doesn't work.
I see
there's
this in
a
your
plan.
future. You're gonna have you're gonna have a massive head injury in your future.
Well,
I
you got that right.
A concussion. Bam.
There you go. Oh my god, it came true.
Alrighty.
Oh god. All right. Well, okay, let's go ahead and do our handles then. Meekly, where can they find you?
You can find me at Meekly Sheepling on Twitter and Instagram. I did have a DeviantArt, but I kind of forgot about it, so don't go there. It's embarrassing.
Okay. That's okay. Well, I mean, I've been noticing that you've been putting a lot of like original character stuff up on Instagram and Twitter recently.
Yes.
So that's really cool.
I've
to
been
see.
writing.
Nice.
Fuck yeah, love it. All right, and how about you, Jake? Where can they find you?
All right. Well, you can find me on Twitter at @JacobDavison_. That is at JACOBDAVSON_. And you can watch, and you can see all the hundreds and hundreds of horror movies I've seen on Letterboxd. Jacob Davison.
Dude, you've been plugging away at that. I've just been like,
I'm almost at 666 movies.
Oh, thank God! So great.
This year.
If you haven't reviewed it yet, I would recommend Interstellar 555 because that's just a great movie to chill out to.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if you reviewed it yet.
Oh, and real quick, I want to plug my horror podcast, Eye on Horror, for iHorror News with my co-hosts Jonathan Manuel Correa and James J. Edwards. We talk horror movies, we interview horror people. It's a fun time.
Sick. Sounds great. Okay, and how about you, Robin? Where can they find you?
As always, you can find me on the internet and Twitter at @lobster_writer and on Instagram at @lobsterwriter. I have not been doing as much on Instagram because I'm working on a very large project as part of a Secret Santa thing.
Ooh.
So,
dude, fucking story of my life. I've been like, I'm between like 6 different projects right now.
Yeah,
I'm really trying to get them all out. Like, I'm really trying.
And where do they find you, Tracy?
Thank you, Robin. They can find me on Instagram and Twitter via @TCTroush. You can check out my personal website where I've got my portfolio and a bunch of random nonsense stuff on there, which is tracytroush.com. Yeah, I've mostly just been making Christmas presents recently, just because I'm trying to do like a more sort of handmade thing this year, not just for my portfolio, but also just because I've just been really poor lately, or at least like I'm just trying to be a lot more fiscally responsible. So I'm trying to like make more handmade stuff, especially like for my niece, because it's technically her like second Christmas this year. Yeah. So and this one she'll hopefully maybe remember. I don't know, but I wanted to make her some cool stuff. So yeah. That's pretty much it. Thanks so much for listening, guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. And if you made it this far into the episode and haven't listened to haven't watched the Owl House, what are you doing?
Go!
Why did you go this far?
Shut this off
go
and
watch
it
it
right now.
Get out of here!
They have hijinks and King's adorable and they have fun.
Dude, like I binged the entire thing in about 2 days.
Same.
Good stuff.
Yeah, it's a pretty tightly paced show. Yeah. So but yeah, thanks so much, guys, and don't go to your relatives for Christmas, please.
No.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep.
Please don't. Please just make yourself a little cocoon and put on some movies and get some cocoa.
And watch the Owl House.
Shit like that. And watch the Owl House. You've got 3 things you can do. Do it.
Do them all.
Yeah, there you go. Well, do it all. Why don't you maverick son of a bitch? All right. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you listening. And we'll talk to you next time. See ya.
Bye.
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 Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of Not Joanna Eggs. Our intro music is Don't Hold My Breath by Ben Briggs, and the outro is Wet Dreams by Phonetic Hero. Both were found on ocremix.org. If you enjoyed this podcast, please remember to like and subscribe on whatever platform you use. Not Joanna Eggs, because animation is for everyone. Thanks.